How's the league going? Well, the mechanic itself, I don't mind. Unfortunately, none of it's being added to the game, which is disappointing because I think it's basically like Torment with, player agency, if you want to call it that. So I think that the actual league itself is quite good. I think it would be a great replacement for Torment. The idea of the Sentinels themselves and Recommoners being on the drop pool just as a base game drop would be fine. They're doing none of that. They're adding none of that shit in. It's all being just tossed away, which is unfortunate. On top of that, the addition of Archnemesis, I think, was one of the worst decisions I've ever done. I'm still having fun in the league. I always have fun no matter what. But, yeah, these are just like two things I believe to be fact, basically. That Archnemesis is bad. Sentinel could be good. I think both the decisions to implement Archnemesis and remove Sentinel are incorrect. I think Recommoners could just be a base game drop and it would be not offensive either. Because they're a very fair form of crafting, considering they can ruin items totally. I think Archnemesis felt like, almost, one would even say an alpha test. So there was just a lot of problems with Archnemesis conceptually, and also like PR problems with its implementation. What I'm about to say are 100% true facts, no opinion injected in these incoming statements. There was a statement from GGG saying that Archnemesis was extensively tested, and they were happy with its implementation for rares and magic mobs. So that was a statement made over 2 different days from 2 different people about this league, right? About Archnemesis. Another fact about Archnemesis is that it has been nerfed or changed in 8 different patches since it came out. And to me, those cannot exist in the same realm of possibility. Like, those 2 things cannot exist at the same time. You can't simultaneously say that this league was fully tested and implemented well, and then nerf it and change it 8 different times. Like, there's some massive disconnect there, right? So I think that in itself is a shame, considering, like, that, does not instill a sense of, like, faith in any sort of balance testing, right? That's, like, unfortunate to hear. So I'm curious, like, what exactly happened with this. The intention and their reasoning for Archnemesis was, as they described, to make it more identifiable for newer players and continued players to come. As in, you saw a rare, you read what it had, and you knew what it was, versus seeing the laundry list of previously rare mods. I think it had the total opposite effect, and people would now look at mods and it takes you even longer. This is just like a thing that it's like hard to unlearn something versus learning something from scratch, where it's going to take a longer time for players who have been playing Path to look at something and be like, sub-fizz means more fizz, versus like, what exactly does Bonebreaker do versus Juggernaut? Like, that's a bigger disconnect, I think. So that was also, I think, had the opposite effect, right? Archnemesis mods, by definition, will affect every single aspect of the game that introduces rare mobs. So Bestiary, Delve, Harvest, Incursion, Ritual. And because of how all those things interact with rare mobs and the scaling of the base monsters, which is what affects the most things, as in a Crush Claw from Harvest is not the same strength as a Spider from Delve, and is not the same strength as a Beast from Bestiary, the actual balance from everything totally fucked, because you have to balance every single thing one at a time. Like, the same treatment that Juggernaut is going to receive on a mob from Bestiary will not be the same as it will receive from a Crush Claw, because the scaling goes out of whack. And yeah, not to mention new players will have no clue what Shikari Touched means until they're dead. And there's nothing in-game to know that. If I want to know what Shikari Touched meant, I can't look in-game. It isn't here. There's nowhere where it tells me what Shikari Touch means at all. So I have to literally Google it, which that's like one of the more frustrating interactions to have with somebody who's new to the game. They're like, Lighty, I just got killed by something called Innocent Touched. I don't know where in game I'm supposed to know what that means. And I say, well, Google it. Like that, and that's the best answer I can give. Feels bad, Like the fact that, its interaction with other mechanics is one of the more detrimental things. Its lack of clarity, its constant, the immunity factor is also one of the more offensive things. If you were playing a cold dot build, there's like 6 different things that say immune to chill or freeze. That like shits on you in a big way, which is very unfortunate. So there's a lot of things that are not good about Archnemesis, and it's only going to get worse because the second they introduce new mechanics and change old mechanics, well, they have to redo all that balance yet again. If there's anything new added to the game, it's gonna, and it has any sort of rare mob values, those are gonna have to be touched up in Archnemesis. If they change how rare monsters scale across the board, all Archnemesis needs to be touched up again for all existing mechanics. So they've put themselves, it's a company historically not great at across-the-board balance, now gave themselves the largest task of balancing the most mechanics ever in their game's history. Which to me was like a very strange decision. I think it'll probably be more, like, Archnemesis will be fine, but it's going to take literally like a year of culling the chaff and rebalancing to get to that point in its current form. So that's my TED talk on Archnemesis, but yeah, not great. Not a great decision.